Hello, 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 and welcome to Up Dog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Today, probably wondering why it is just me. And today, we actually have a special surprise for you. You're probably also wondering why the Rams just threw up on me. It's our nostalgia series. And today, I know it says Los Angeles, but we're going to go over the St. Louis Rams. Um, Certainly, the Rams have had their um, chances over the past few years to get a couple rings, besides the one they beat the Bengals with. But that the Patriots won, and then they also before the move to St. Louis, they had a few opportunities. But today is focused primarily on the greatest show on turf, and I wanted to start the series off with one that felt close to me. For years and years and years, I was a Rams fan, in addition to being a hometown Bengals fan. But the Rams were special to me because I actually went to a Bengals Rams game when I was 6 years old, 7 years old, and I watched the greatest show on turf just light up the Bengals defense. And I was like, wow, that is how you play football. And 6 or 7 years old, I was uh, watching the Bengals just do absolutely nothing, just fall on their face. Everybody that I was with watching these games, they were pretty upset at how the Bengals are playing. So, not off to a great start in Bengals fandom. The Rams come to town, and I watch Kurt Warner just throw a bomb to Azir Hakeem for a touchdown. And that's the moment that I became a fan. Um, and then followed them the rest of the season. I mean, as much as I could. I was like 6 or 7 years old in the 90s, where before we had like full access to the internet to follow the games. So when they were on TV, I would try to go out of my way and be like, hey, I want to watch that. Um, Came to the Super Bowl, and I had gone a little bit without being able to watch them. And I was like, hey, that's the team that I watched beat the Bengals. I want to see them win this game. They were wearing the exact same uniforms that they were wearing. And back and forth game. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was a great game. And at the end of the game, Mark Fields tackles Kevin Dyson on the 1 yard line. Um, which brings me to my first what if of the episode. What if he didn't fall at the 1 yard line? What if he was able to extend it across the goal line for a touchdown? Um, at that point, I would say Jeff Fisher gets a ring, Eddie George gets a ring. Um, Steve McNair gets a ring. Those three, in particular, probably start setting up some type of um, even better Hall of Fame resume than they already have. Maybe the Titans go on a short little run of a couple Super Bowls, um, and um, but I mean, it ended up not happening that way. Uh, um, Marshall Falk, he won the MVP the following year, um, and they lost in the playoffs. The year after that, in 2001, um, Dick Vermeil had left, and Mike Martz became or goes from offensive coordinator to head coach, and they ultimately ended up losing the Super Bowl to Tom Brady and Adam Vinatieri's leg. And then the greatest show on turf just kind of got dismantled, and eventually the Rams ended up for years being bad. Um, but kind of leads into my second what if of the episode. What if they didn't lose to Tom Brady? What if Adam Vinatieri had missed that field goal? Um, I think that the Rams stay together. I think that um, they stay in St. Louis. They get a new dome built. They go on a little run there for a little bit before they have to start paying everybody. Um, Maybe Kurt Warner plays his entire career there. Also, at the time of recording, it's a few days past his birthday, so happy birthday, Kurt Warner. Um, but I think Kurt Warner puts together a few more Super Bowls. Um, Cardinals end up not making it to the Super Bowl with him. I think he ends up um, like they end up building around him. I don't think Torrey Holt goes to the Jaguars. Maybe Isaac Bruce sticks around for another year or two. Um, Orlando Pace gets a couple more rings probably. Um, I think there's a lot that happened because the Rams had lost that Super Bowl and just kind of fell apart. Mike Martz got fired a couple years later. Um, like 2 seasons later, Kurt Warner was on the Giants playing terrible. Eli Manning took over. He went to Kurt Warner went to Arizona and then kind of balled out the rest of his career. But Marshall Faulk didn't have too many years in the league after that. I think Isaac Bruce may have retired after that game. Um, but a lot could have changed for the Rams had Adam Vinatieri missed that field goal. Maybe the Raiders go to LA instead of the Rams, and instead of going to Las Vegas. Maybe the Chargers just jump in instead. I think the landscape of the NFL would look a lot different. I don't think Tom Brady would have as many Super Bowls. Um, I think it still would have been a pass heavy league eventually, but um, this segment was big for me because I got to watch that team in '99 go win that Super Bowl, and then I was a big Kurt Warner fan for years after hearing his story. There was a book that I got, and it might be up here somewhere, um, but it was half Kurt Warner, half Peyton Manning, and went over their stories, their backgrounds, and it went over everything in his life, and it gave me hope to try to aspire to be an NFL player. And I didn't even really play in high school. Like I was on the team, but I didn't really play in high school. So dreams kind of fell off a cliff there. But it was just a fun team to watch. Probably the most fun team ever. If you're old enough to have seen them play, it was electric. And I may be dating myself, and now that I'm old and uh, my back hurts and all that, maybe that's a sign that the Rams dynasty uh, didn't become a thing. Um, the the Rams ended up with Mark Bulger as their quarterback, who played okay, but not that great. They got Steven Jackson, who ended up being a machine. Um, Defense had a couple good players, but they started losing a lot of those players over time. And then they just kind of lost until they got Sam Bradford, and then Sam Bradford went in and out of being hurt, and then led to Jared Goff, and then now Matthew Stafford. But it was one of those eras where it was like this could have been what the Patriots dynasty was. Um, Not saying that Kurt Warner would have played for 20 years, but definitely could have made a huge impact on the game. Um, and could have been labeled as the best quarterback ever because that team was absolutely stacked. Um, and like they were one of the first teams that was 3 or 4 receivers deep. Whereas like today, you have to have 3 good receivers. They had 4 good receivers. Um, they had a Hall of Fame running back who won MVP the following season. They had a quarterback who won Super Bowl MVP, and um, just was an electric player. But if you were around to see the Rams, definitely tell me your thoughts on what you think could have happened. I was talking to Chad before this show, and he said that he liked the Titans because of Eddie George being an Ohio State alum, and he wanted to see the Titans. Now, I didn't know that at the time, but it's funny that 25 years later, I find that fact out, and like his fandom could have lied with the Titans had they won that game. Who knows what would have happened? But um, yeah, I think it's a great way to kick off the nostalgia series. It is a little difficult to be talking this long by myself. Like coming up with something to say, uh, kind of going off fully of memory without like really looking anything up. I think Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt both had 1,000 yards that season. Torrey Holt had one of the best rookie receiver seasons um, ever. I mean, not compared to Randy Moss, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, anyone like that. But I mean, like definitely up there. Um, and then I don't know. I just love that team so much. It was such a fun game to watch. I'm extremely blessed to be able to have watched that game. Now I was like 3 rows from the top of Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, and if anybody has been to that stadium, those seats are pretty far away. But it was really cool just seeing like the whole thing work, and like that was before I really had an understanding of football. Like I was watching it and I understood generally what was happening, but before I could dive into the specifics of what was going on, like it was really fun. It made me fall in love with football. Years later, I actually like Kurt Warner was broken down on the side of the highway, and he was like, "All right, send me your tweets." So he and I had a good conversation back and forth on Twitter, and uh, it solidified my fandom for that team. Now, since the Rams beat the Bengals and Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl, I still like the Rams, not nearly as much as I did back then. But it was one of those things that actually kinda hurt my fandom for the Rams, watching Matthew Stafford and the Rams beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals. The Rams have gotten, had a ring in my lifetime. The Bengals hadn't made a Super Bowl in my lifetime up until that point. But, um, depending on who they play, I will still root for the Rams, but my heart lies with the St. Louis Rams, not the Los Angeles Rams. Stan Kroenke, not a big fan of him, but he does have quite a few sports franchises that he owns. But like I said before, if you were able to watch the St. Louis Rams greatest show on turf ever like play, um, like feel free to tell me what you think the NFL landscape would be today had they lost that game against the Titans, had they beat Tom Brady, like whatever you think could have shaped the future. Um, yeah, feel free to reach out and let us know. But um, give us a like, a subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, Facebook. All of them are at Updog Sports Talk. We do try to get some videos on TikTok, but most of our videos are too long and it takes too much time with all the treatment that I had to go through to splice up the videos and post them out there. So we are on TikTok, but just know that we only post occasionally on there. Um, we do have a couple episodes coming up next month on the um, NFL landscape. So we'll go division by division, break it down team by team of what we think they're going to do this season, how they improve their team, how their team may have fallen off a little bit. Um, Probably a few teams to complain about, but yeah, Some things to look forward to. Chad and I mentioned possibly doing an MLB episode at some point also. So if you're a baseball fan, definitely try to tune in. But yeah, hit that like and subscribe. We want to hear from you too. Reach out. But yeah, that is the episode. Thanks for following along with our nostalgia first ever nostalgia series episode of the greatest show on turf. See everybody.